Hi, I'm Katie Dutcher from Flourish and Bloom and Monterey Bay Meditation Studio. So, today, what I'd like to talk about is courage. What is courage? And the reason I want to talk about this is partly because I think that um, for a lot of us, at first glance, what we think of as courage isn't actually close to the real meaning of courage and what it really means to practice courage. So, first, what it's not, that maybe we sometimes tend to go here in our mind, it's not, or it doesn't have to be always something huge or dramatic. When we think of courage, we think of somebody maybe diving into a fast moving river to save a child. And that is courageous. And at the same time, if we think that that's the only thing, the only type of thing that can be considered as courageous, then we it's like we're not zooming in enough. We would miss all these other smaller and still important acts of courage that happen all around us every day. Other people's acts of courage and our own. So I think this has been a theme for me actually, no matter what subject I'm talking about, that we don't have to look only at the really big or the really obvious, but really notice the small as well, that counts too. So that's one. It doesn't always have to be huge and dramatic. The other thing that we sometimes feel um, about courage is that when people are courageous, they are acting without fear. They're doing something without being afraid at all. And that's why sometimes we think that courage is beyond us, that we might say, "Oh, I'm not a courageous person," or I don't practice courage, because we sense that we're fearful a lot of the time. What we don't know is that other people are fearful too, right? We may just see their behavior and we don't know that they're acting in the face of fear, in spite of and with fear. And then on the other side, there's the fact that maybe someone does have no fear and they go ahead and do something. That's wonderful. And it isn't courage. It's great. It's just doing something fantastic and strong. But actually, coming to the definition of courage, um, there's two definitions that I found right off the bat. And the first is courage is the ability to do something that frightens you. So notice that fear is built right into what courage is, right? It's the two parts. It's number one, you're afraid. Number two, you go ahead with the fear. You go ahead in spite of, and and the fact that there's fear and doing the thing, that's what makes it courage. So that, I think, is interesting, that again we often see courage as just this kind of fearless, like brave, strong, um, almost like superhuman quality, when actually it is very human. It is this like, yeah, it's almost like opposites together. I'm afraid and I still go ahead. I want to hang back, but I take a step forward. That's courage. The other definition that was there, which I really like too, is strength in the face of pain or grief. So again, it's two sides. It's suffering or difficulty in the form of pain or grief, and maintaining some essence of strength, whatever that means. What I also get from this definition, when it says the ability to do something that frightens you, is that it's subjective. Courage is subjective, right? So all the prerequisite is that it frightens you or me, right? It doesn't mean it frightens somebody else. So, what might be totally courageous for me to do might be run of the mill for you, and vice versa. For example, there are folks who are so they really like love and thrive on connecting with people and new people, and they really, I mean, my brother-in-law and my niece are people like this, where they really want to go into a space and really just engage with everybody they can. For me to do that, to walk into a space and go up to somebody that I don't know and just begin a conversation, that would be courageous. For my brother-in-law, it's not courageous. It's just like good fun. And so you see that how it's subjective there. And again, I'm wanting us, my aim here is to really be able to recognize and acknowledge when we act with courage, right? To not say, oh, I'm not being courageous because I'm fearful. Well, you're fearful and you're still facing that fear. That's courage. And if it doesn't really matter what somebody else is able to do. Does that make sense? I'm imagining someone nodding to me. Um, so yeah, so there's this denial of our courage. We say, I know what I feel in my heart, and strong is the last thing I feel, but yet we still move forward. Um, and another reason we deny our courage is because it doesn't look big, right? It just, a lot of times courage simply looks like the next right thing to do. And it's funny, even often, even when somebody does something that is one of those big dramatic courageous life-saving things, often when they're asked about it, they say, oh, that didn't feel courageous to me. I just did what I had to do. That is often what people say. I just did what I knew I needed to do. So in that moment, it's simply this taking a step forward that seems like the right step at the time, and even when it is frightening to take that step. So that's the main points I want to carry through today. Courage is completely subjective. Your form of courage counts as courage, and it could be a little step, and it is alongside, coexisting with fear. In fact, fear is a part, an integral part of courage. And so I'd like us to move into a short meditation. So wherever you are, go ahead and let your body get as comfortable as you can. Let your body get still. Let your eyes close. I don't have my bell with me right now, but we'll still simply begin. And for this moment, just allowing yourself to sense your body sitting here. To sense your breath being drawn in and then released. right now it's early in the day, beginning just in your mind's eye to look ahead to what this day holds. And if it's late in the day for you, perhaps thinking into tomorrow. And if you like, beginning to ask yourself, what does courage look like for me today or into the next day? One way of looking at this question is to look for the little glimmers of fear or anxiety. But as you look ahead to the day, you notice where there's perhaps discomfort. And that may be an opportunity, a window where you're called to practice courage. There are those days, in fact, where perhaps it's just a normal day, and yet, almost even before you open your eyes, there's a little or a big glimmer of dread, fear. And in that time, courage might simply mean facing the day, waking up, getting up, and moving step by step through the unfolding of the day. This can be counted as courage. Perhaps courage comes in the form of something that needs to be said. Of speaking what's on your heart and mind, even though there's uncertainty about how it might be received. This is an act of courage. Sometimes the greatest acts of courage are simply to be with what we're experiencing fully rather than turning away, to be with the pain, physical pain in the body, to be with difficult emotions rather than distracting or numbing. It's an act of courage to tune inward. What does courage look like for you this day? It is also possible that as you look ahead, there isn't any fear or anxiety about what is immediate, that the tasks and the roles ahead of you feel comfortable, feel right, feel well within what you're prepared to offer. And if that's the case, enjoying this, noticing what it feels like, this absence of fear, peace of mind, peace of heart. Perhaps gratitude arises for this sense of ease. Feeling your breath, now you see the opportunities to act with courage today. And may you acknowledge, recognize, appreciate the courage, the acts of courage, big and small. Seeing your own strength clearly. As you're ready, you can let your eyes open. Thanks for joining me. If courage is something that you are wanting to dive into, learning more about, being more aware of, you should know that I have a workbook all about it. It's Courage Amidst Uncertainty. And one of the first people who worked through it was dealing in it with a transition time of having been laid off from a job and really a big uncertain time of not exactly sure what was going to happen next and what direction to go. And he found some comfort and strength in working through the reading, the writing, reflective writing pieces, and meditations, guided meditations that go along with the material. So if this is something that may or may not be of interest to you, you could check out my website. It's katiedutcher.com. And then at the top, there's a little tab called Courage, and you can take a look there. So I'm wishing you the best with this. And as always, feel free to email me hello@katiedutcher.com or comment. Let me know how this strikes you. I'm wishing you a wonderful day. See you next week.